My father thinks my two-bedroom apartment is wasted on a single person. Hi everyone! Today's story will blow your mind, but really quick, if you enjoy this content, hit that subscribe button. Channel's been a bit quiet lately, and your support keeps it all going. Let's jump in. I, 29M, need to know if I'm being unreasonable here. I've been living in my two-bedroom apartment for 3 years now. I worked my ass off to afford this place. It's nothing fancy, but it's mine. I use the second bedroom as my home office since I work remotely 3 days a week as a software developer. My older brother Michael, 31M, has been going through a rough patch. He lost his job 8 months ago and had to move his family, his wife Jennifer, 30F, and their 2 kids, 5M and 3F, into a cramped one-bedroom rental after they lost their house. I feel for them, I really do. I've helped with groceries, watched the kids, even covered their car payment twice. Last Sunday, my father Thomas, 57M, came over for our monthly dinner. We were having a normal conversation when he suddenly said, "You know, James, this place is really too big for just one person." I laughed it off. "Dad, it's a two-bedroom apartment, not a mansion." "That's exactly my point," he said, looking around my living room with this calculating expression I'd never seen before. "You have all this space, and Michael's family is crammed into that shoebox. It doesn't make sense." The way he said it made my stomach drop. "What are you suggesting?" "I'm not suggesting anything," he said, but his tone said otherwise. "I'm just observing that you have 2 bedrooms, a full kitchen, a decent living room. That's enough space for a family. Meanwhile, your brother's kids are sleeping on a pull-out couch. Dad, I pay $1,800 a month for this place. I need the office for work. This is my home." He waved his hand dismissively. "You could work from the bedroom. People do it all the time. Or the kitchen table. You don't need a whole room for a computer." I tried explaining that my job requires video calls, that I have equipment set up, that I need a professional background. He just kept shaking his head. "Family helps family," he said. "When I was your age, I would have done anything to help my brother. But your generation, always thinking about yourselves first." That stung. I reminded him about the financial help I'd given Michael, the babysitting, how I'd spent my weekends helping them move. "That's not the same as real help," he said. "Real help means sacrifice. Real help means giving up comfort for family." The conversation deteriorated from there. He kept pushing this idea that I was being selfish, that a single person didn't need all that space, that I should be honored to help raise my nephews by giving them a stable home. "So what, I'm supposed to just give up my apartment?" I finally asked. "Not give up," he said carefully. "Share. Michael's family could take the master bedroom and the office. You could have the smaller bedroom. You'd still have a roof over your head, and you'd be helping your family. The rent would be split, so you'd even save money." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. He wanted me to pay $900 a month to live in the smallest room of my own apartment while my brother's family took over the rest. "That's insane," I said. "This is my home. I'm not a selfish person, but I'm not giving up my apartment." He left shortly after, but not before saying, "I raised you better than this. Think about what kind of man you want to be, one who helps his family or one who hoards space he doesn't need." That was 5 days ago. Since then, I've gotten texts from my mom saying Dad's disappointed in me. Michael called yesterday, and while he didn't directly ask about moving in, he mentioned how hard it's been on the kids, sharing one room. I know Dad's been talking to him. I feel like I'm going crazy. I work hard, I pay my bills, I help when I can. But apparently, that's not enough. According to my father, being single means I don't deserve my own space if a family member could use it better. Am I being selfish? I can't tell anymore. Update 1, 2 weeks later. I thought I'd heard the last of this apartment situation after my post, but I was wrong. Dead wrong. Yesterday, my father called and asked if he could come over to look at something in my apartment. He said he thought there might be a water leak under my kitchen sink that he'd noticed during his last visit. Since he's always been handy and has helped me with repairs before, I didn't think anything of it. He showed up at 2 p.m. with Michael, Jennifer, and both kids. "What's going on?" I asked, blocking the doorway. "Oh, we were all having lunch together," Dad said casually. "Thought we'd all stop by. You don't mind, do you? The kids have been asking about Uncle James." What was I supposed to do? Turn away my nephews? They were already excited to see me. So I let them in, even though every alarm bell in my head was ringing. The leak inspection took all of 30 seconds. There was no leak. Instead, My father started giving what I can only describe as a tour of my apartment. To my brother's family. Of my home. See, this living room gets great natural light, he was saying to Jennifer. Much better than what you have now. And look at all this floor space, perfect for the kids to play. I watched in growing horror as my 5-year-old nephew Ryan ran into my office. Wow. This could be my room, he shouted. It's bigger than our whole apartment. It's Uncle James's office, sweetie, Jennifer said, but she was looking around too, and I could see her doing the mental math. Michael was unusually quiet, but he kept glancing at me with this mixture of embarrassment and hope that made my chest tight. Dad, what are you doing? I pulled him aside while the kids explored. Just showing them around, he said innocently. No harm in looking. But it wasn't just looking. Soon, he was pointing out where furniture could go. That couch could shift to the wall, make room for the kids' play area. The dining table's too big for one person anyway, could swap it for a smaller one, fit some toy storage there. Jennifer had moved into my bedroom. Oh wow, Thomas, look at these closets. There's so much storage. We could actually unpack properly instead of living out of boxes. The master bedroom is nice, isn't it? Dad said, joining her. Plenty of room for a couple. That current bed's just a queen, could fit a king in here easy, maybe even a small dresser for the kids' clothes. I felt like I was watching vultures circle. Everyone out of my bedroom. Now, James, don't be dramatic, Dad said. We're just looking. No, you're planning. You're mentally moving them in already. The 3-year-old Emma had found her way into my office and was spinning in my desk chair. I like it here, she announced. Can we live here, Daddy? Michael finally spoke. Emma, honey, this is Uncle James's home. But Grandpa said we might dash, Ryan started. Might what? I asked, staring at my father. Dad had the decency to look slightly ashamed. I may have mentioned the possibility of a temporary arrangement. Just until Michael gets back on his feet. Temporary, I repeated. How temporary? 6 months, maybe a year, he said, as if that was nothing. Just until they save enough for a deposit on a new place. With the money they'd save on rent dash. The money they'd save? What about me? I'd still be paying half the rent to live in one room of my own apartment. You'd be saving too, he insisted. And you'd be helping family. Win-win. Jennifer was now in my office, admiring my desk setup. This is such a great workspace. Though I guess it could work as a kid's room with some adjustments. Maybe bunk beds along that wall. I watched her mentally redecorating my office and felt something snap. Okay, everyone out. Tour's over. James Dash, my father started. No. This is my home. I pay for it, I maintain it, I live here. I'm not a hotel, I'm not a charity, and I'm definitely not giving up my apartment because you think single people don't deserve space. No one said you don't deserve dash, Michael began, but I cut him off. Really? Because Dad's made it pretty clear that my needs don't matter since I don't have kids. My office isn't important because I'm just one person. My bedroom's too big because I sleep alone. When does it end? The kids were picking up on the tension. Emma's lip started trembling. Are we in trouble? No, sweetheart, I said, softening my tone. But it's time for everyone to go home now. As they filed out, Dad turned back. You're going to regret this selfishness, James. Family remembers who helped and who didn't. I have helped, I said. Just not in the way you want me to. Michael paused at the door. I'm sorry about this. I didn't know he was planning this. We're managing, really. I wanted to believe him, but the way he'd looked at my apartment, the longing in his eyes, I knew this wasn't over. After they left, I changed my locks. Maybe that's paranoid, but I wouldn't put it past my father to have made copies for emergencies. I also called my landlord to make sure nobody else could be added to my lease without my explicit consent. He seemed confused by the request but agreed to make a note in my file. I'm sitting in my too-big apartment now, looking around at my space. My office with its dual monitor setup and soundproofing panels. My living room with the couch I picked out, the TV I saved for, the art I chose. My bedroom where I can sleep diagonally if I want to because it's my bed. Is it more space than the absolute minimum I need to survive? Sure. But since when is that the standard? I work hard for this life. I chose to prioritize my career and my independence. Why does that make me selfish? The worst part is, I can feel the guilt creeping in. Those kids in that tiny apartment, my brother's stress, Jennifer trying to stay positive. But helping doesn't mean giving up everything I've worked for, does it? I guess I'll find out at the next family gathering. If I'm still invited. Update 2, 6 weeks later. The family dinner was as awkward as you'd expect. My mother Patricia, 55F, had insisted everyone come for her birthday, and despite everything, I wasn't going to miss that. I arrived exactly on time, not early enough for prep talk, not late enough to make an entrance. My sister Rebecca, 27F, was already there, and she gave me a look that said she'd heard everything. Team apartment or team family? I asked her quietly in the kitchen. Team, this is insane, she whispered back. Dad's lost it. But don't tell him I said that. Dinner started civilly enough. Mom had made all her specialties, the kids were behaving, and everyone seemed to be avoiding the elephant in the room. Then Dad cleared his throat. So, James, have you given any more thought to our discussion? There's nothing to think about, I said, keeping my voice level. The answer is still no. What discussion? Mom asked, though her tone suggested she knew exactly what discussion. James has decided his comfort is more important than his nephew and niece having adequate housing, Dad announced to the table. That's not Dash, I started, but he kept going. 2 bedrooms, 1 person. Meanwhile, for people in 1 bedroom, anyone with basic math skills can see the problem. Rebecca spoke up. By that logic, should I give up my studio apartment? It's just me there too. Don't be ridiculous, Dad said. You can barely afford that place as it is. James has resources. Resources I work for, I said. Resources I budget for. Resources I plan my life around. Plans change, he said firmly. Family comes first. Michael had been silent, pushing food around his plate. Jennifer kept shooting him looks, and I could see they'd discussed this. Actually, Michael finally said, I got a job interview. 2, actually. Things might be looking up. That's great, I said, genuinely relieved. What companies? He named them, both solid options with good benefits. For a moment, I thought maybe this would end the apartment discussion. I was wrong. Even if you get the job, Dad said to Michael, it'll take months to save for a deposit, first and last month's rent, moving costs. Meanwhile, James has empty rooms gathering dust. I use those rooms, I insisted. Every day. My office isn't decoration, it's where I work. You could work from a coffee shop, Dad suggested. Lots of young people do that now. With confidential client information? Video calls with executives? Sure, let me just broadcast proprietary data at Starbucks. Excuses, he muttered. The kids had finished eating and were getting restless. Jennifer took them to the living room, leaving the adults at the table. Mom finally spoke up. Thomas, maybe we should respect James's decision. It is his apartment. Dad turned on her. Of course you'd take his side. You always baby him. I don't baby anyone, she said quietly. But forcing someone to give up their home isn't helping, it's taking advantage. Taking advantage? Dad's voice rose. Taking advantage is having extra space while your brother's family suffers. No one's suffering, Michael interjected. It's tight, but we're managing. The kids are fed, they're in school, we have a roof over our heads. A roof that's too small. Dad slammed his hand on the table. In my day, family meant something. My brother gave me his couch for 6 months when I was starting out. No questions asked. A couch, Rebecca pointed out. Not his entire apartment. Not making him pay to be a guest in his own home. Stay out of this, Rebecca. You're too young to understand. I understand that you're trying to guilt James into something unreasonable, she shot back. What's next? Should he give up his car because Michael needs one? His savings because family shares everything? Now you're being dramatic. Am I? Where's the line, Dad? When does James get to have his own life? The argument continued, getting more heated. Mom tried to mediate, Michael looked miserable, and I just felt tired. Finally, I stood up. I'm done discussing this, I announced. My apartment is not up for debate. If that makes me selfish in your eyes, Dad, then I'll have to live with that. But I'm not giving up my home. I went to say goodbye to the kids, gave Mom a hug for her birthday, and left. In the car, my phone buzzed. A text from Rebecca, "You're not selfish. Don't let him make you think you are." Then one from Michael, "I'm sorry. I never asked him to do this. We'll figure it out on our own." And finally, one from Dad, "Your generation will realize too late that family is all that matters." I hope your empty rooms keep you company when we're gone. I didn't respond to any of them. What was there to say? But here's the thing that bothers me most. Dad's created this narrative where I'm the villain, hoarding resources while family suffers. He's ignoring that I've helped in every way I can without giving up my autonomy. He's ignoring that Michael and Jennifer are adults who can solve their own problems. He's ignoring that being single doesn't make my needs less valid. I love my family. I love my nephews and niece. But loving them doesn't mean I have to sacrifice everything I've built. Does it? Update 3, 4 months later. I thought things had died down. Michael got one of those jobs, thank God. They'd moved into a larger 2-bedroom rental, and family dinners had returned to normal. Dad still made passive-aggressive comments about people who live alone in big spaces, but I'd learned to tune them out. I should have known he was planning something when he invited me for coffee last week. Just the two of us, he said. To clear the air. We met at a place near my apartment. He was already there when I arrived, papers spread out on the table. My stomach immediately knotted. What's all this? I asked, sitting down cautiously. Just some research, he said, sliding a stack toward me. About housing efficiency and family support systems. The papers were printouts of articles about multigenerational living, co-housing, and, I kid you not, studies about how single people use more resources per capita than families. Dad, seriously? Just read them, he said. With an open mind. I flipped through them to humor him. Most were about willing arrangements, families choosing to live together for mutual benefit. Nothing about forced cohabitation or guilt-based apartment takeovers. These are about people who want to live together, I pointed out. Not about shaming single people into giving up their homes. I'm not shaming anyone, he said, pulling out another folder. I'm presenting facts. And opportunities. The new folder made my blood run cold. It was a rental application. For my apartment. With Michael and Jennifer's names on it. What the hell is this? Hear me out, he said quickly. I spoke to your landlord, Dash. You what? Just casually. I mentioned I was your father, asked about the possibility of adding tenants to your lease. He said it was possible with your consent. I stared at him. You had no right, Dash. I have every right to look out for my family, he interrupted. Both my sons. This arrangement would help both of you. How does making me a tenant in my own apartment help me? He pulled out a calculator. Let's do the math. Your rent is $1,800. Split 3 ways, Dash. 3 ways. They're a family of 4. Children don't count as tenants. So 3 adults, $600 each. You'd save $1,200 a month. That's $14,400 a year. Think what you could do with that money. Live in a studio apartment of my own? I suggested. Which would cost about $1,200. He waved that off. Why waste money on redundant housing? You'd have a bedroom, access to common areas, Dash. Common areas. It's my living room. It would be everyone's living room. That's how families work, James. Sharing. Cooperation. Love. I grabbed the application and tore it in half. This isn't love. This is manipulation. His face darkened. Manipulation? I'm trying to help you become a better person. Someone who understands that being part of a family means sacrifice. I understand sacrifice, I said, struggling to keep my voice down. I sacrificed vacations to help with Michael's bills. I sacrificed weekends to babysit. I sacrificed Dash. Money and time, he interrupted. Not comfort. Not space. Not anything that actually matters. My home matters. Your excessive home, he corrected. Do you know how many people are homeless while you sit in your 2-bedroom palace? So now I'm responsible for homelessness too? Should I move everyone in? Open a shelter? Don't be sarcastic. This is about family. One family. Your family. He pulled out his final document. I recognized it immediately. It was a lease agreement. Pre-filled. With a start date of next month. I've already worked it out with Michael, he said. They could move in gradually. You'd barely notice the transition. By summer, you'd all be settled in together. One big happy family. Michael agreed to this. I couldn't hide my disbelief. He understands the financial benefits. Jennifer's pregnant again. Did he tell you? They'll need the space more than ever. This was news to me. When Dash? She's only 2 months along. They haven't announced it yet. But imagine, A new baby in that cramped rental? When you have empty rooms just sitting there. I stood up. Those aren't empty rooms. One is my bedroom. One is my office. Both are in my apartment that I pay for. This conversation is over. Sit down, he commanded. We're not done. Yes, we are. And if you contact my landlord again, I'll consider it harassment. His face went red. Harassment? I'm your father. Then act like it, I said. A father would be proud that his son is independent and successful, not trying to take it away because he thinks single people don't deserve nice things. This isn't about what you deserve, Dash. No, it's about what you think I deserve, which is apparently one bedroom and shared access to the apartment I've been paying for alone for 3 years. I left him there with his papers and his calculations and his self-righteousness. But I knew this wasn't over. Not with a new baby on the way. Not with my father's crusade against single people having too much space. I went home and looked around my apartment. My excessive apartment with its empty rooms that I use every single day. Tomorrow, I'm starting the conversation with my landlord about breaking my lease early. Not because I want to move, but because I need to. Somewhere Dad doesn't know the address. Somewhere he can't ambush with rental applications and guilt trips. It shouldn't have to be this way. But apparently, in my family, being single means you're just keeping space warm for the real families who need it. Final update, 1 month later. I did it. I moved. Not far, just across town, but far enough that dropping by uninvited would be inconvenient. I found a nice one-bedroom with a den that works perfectly as an office. Yes, it's smaller. Yes, it costs about the same. But it's mine, and more importantly, it's not on my father's radar as wasted space. I didn't tell anyone I was moving until the truck showed up. Rebecca helped me pack. She was the only family member I trusted with my new address. This is insane, she kept saying. You shouldn't have to flee your own life because Dad can't respect boundaries. But here's the thing, it wasn't just about boundaries anymore. It had become about my entire worth as a person in my father's eyes. Every conversation circled back to how my life choices were inherently less valuable because I hadn't produced grandchildren. The family explosion when they found out was intense. Mom called crying, asking why I hadn't told her. I explained that I couldn't risk Dad finding out and sabotaging the move. She understood but was hurt. I felt terrible, but what else could I do? Michael texted, "Heard you moved. Dad's convinced it's because of me. I'm sorry it came to this." I responded, "It's not your fault. Congratulations on the baby, by the way." "Thanks. For what it's worth, I never wanted your apartment. A place isn't a home if it comes with that much guilt." Dad's reaction was exactly what you'd expect. He showed up at my old apartment the day after I'd turned in the keys, apparently with another proposal. The new tenants were very confused when he insisted his son lived there. He called me screaming about respect and family abandonment. I let him vent, then calmly said, "I'm an adult who made a housing decision. Just like you taught me to be independent." "This isn't independence, it's spite," he yelled. "No," I corrected. "Spite would be telling everyone how you tried to redistribute my home like some kind of communist housing committee. This is just me living my life." The silence on the other end was deafening. Then, "You'll regret this when you're old and alone." "Maybe," I admitted. "But I'll be old and alone in my own space." He hung up. We haven't spoken since. The aftermath has been mixed. Some relatives think I overreacted. "Why not just stand your ground?" they ask. But they didn't experience months of psychological warfare about deserving basic adult autonomy. They didn't have their father literally trying to reassign their living space. Others, particularly my single cousins, have been quietly supportive. One admitted, "Uncle Thomas cornered me at Christmas about my wasteful 2-bedroom condo. Now I know why you stayed away." Rebecca remains my fiercest defender. "You didn't move because of the apartment," she told me. "You moved because Dad showed you that your life would never be your own as long as he knew where to find you." She's right. This was never about the apartment. It was about my father's fundamental belief that being single made me a second-class family member, existing only to support the real families. My new place is smaller, but it's peaceful. My office has a lock now, probably unnecessary, but psychologically important. I've had a few friends over, and they all comment on how relaxed I seem. "I didn't realize how tense I was," I admitted to one. "Always waiting for the next ambush, the next guilt trip, the next attempt to prove I didn't deserve my own life." Last week, Mom visited, alone, after promising not to share my address. We had coffee in my new kitchen. "It's nice," she said, looking around. "Cozy." "You mean small," I translated. "I mean yours," she corrected, without anyone trying to take it away. We sat in comfortable silence for a while. Then she said, "Your father means well. He has very firm ideas about how families should work." "Families should work through mutual respect," I replied. "Not forced sacrifice." She nodded. "I've told him that. He doesn't listen. He's convinced you'll come crawling back when you realize what you've lost." "What I've lost is a father who respects my choices," I said. "That happened long before I moved." She didn't argue. "As for Michael and his family, they're doing well in their new place. Jennifer had the baby last month, another boy. They named him Thomas, after Dad. I sent a gift but didn't visit. The lines have been drawn, and I'm on the wrong side of them for now. Sometimes I wonder if I should have just kept fighting, kept my original apartment, kept saying no. But the truth is, I was tired. Tired of defending my right to exist as a single person. Tired of being told my life was incomplete, my choices selfish, my space wasted. My new apartment might be smaller, but it's filled with something my old place had lost: peace. The knowledge that no one's mentally measuring my rooms, planning reorganizations, or calculating how many family members could fit in my excessive space. I'm sure this isn't the end. Family dynamics like these don't just resolve. There will be weddings, funerals, occasions where we'll have to interact. But for now, I'm just enjoying my small, appropriate amount of space that no one can claim I'm wasting. To everyone who's asked if I regret it, no. I regret that it was necessary, but I don't regret choosing peace over pleasing someone who would never be satisfied with my life choices anyway. Being single doesn't make me less deserving of respect, space, or autonomy. It took losing my father to really understand that. But sometimes, that's the price of living your own life. The irony. My old apartment is still empty. Turns out, most families looking for rentals can't afford $1,800 a month. But I'm sure that's somehow my fault too.